The notification pinged at 2 a.m., a soft chime that yanked Elliot from the edge of sleep. His phone glowed in the dark, casting shadows across his cramped Brooklyn apartment, and the words on the screen stopped his breath. New message from songbird_17. For months, that anonymous voice on the music app had been his lifeline, their late-night chats and shared playlists weaving a bond he couldn't explain. Elliot rubbed his eyes, heart racing as he opened the app. Songbird_17's profile was a Misterino photo. No name, just a string of covers, raw, soulful renditions of indie songs that felt like they were sung for him alone. Their messages were poetry, sharp and tender, dancing around truths neither dared to say outright. Heard this track and thought of you, the latest message read, with a link to a haunting acoustic cover of a song about unrequited love. Why did this stranger's voice feel like home? Elliot wondered, staring at the ceiling as the melody looped in his earbuds. He was 24, a barista by day, a dreamer by night, pouring his own songs into the app under the name Echo Vibes. Growing up in a small Ohio town, he'd hidden his truth, his attraction to men behind a mask of silence, fearing judgment. New York was supposed to be his escape, but loneliness followed, until Songbird_17's voice found him. Their chats began casually, a compliment on Elliot's cover of a Fleet Foxes song, a shared love for obscure bands. But soon, they were confessing fears, dreams, and fragments of their lives. Songbird_17 wrote of stage fright, of a childhood where music was their only refuge. Elliot shared his own scars, his father's cold disapproval, his mother's quiet prayers for him to be normal. Yet neither pushed for real names or faces, as if the anonymity was sacred, protecting the fragile magic of their connection. Tonight, though, something felt different. Songbird_17's message ended with a question. If you could perform anywhere, where would it be? Elliot hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard. He typed, the Bowery Ballroom. Small enough to feel every heart in the room, big enough to prove I'm more than my fears. He hit send, then waited, the silence stretching like a held breath. Hours later, a reply, Bowery. Huh. Maybe one day we'll both be there. Elliot's pulse quickened. Was it a hint? A challenge? He imagined Songbird_17's voice filling that iconic venue. Imagined himself in the crowd, finally seeing the face behind the songs. But doubt crept in. What if this was just a fantasy? A digital mirage he'd built to fill the void. The next day, Elliot's shift at the coffee shop was a blur of espresso steam and impatient customers. His coworker, Mia, noticed his distraction. You okay? Elle. You look like you're chasing a ghost. She was the only one who knew about Songbird_17. Her teasing laced with concern. It's not a ghost, Elliot muttered, wiping down the counter. It's someone real, I think. Mia raised an eyebrow. You've been talking to this mystery singer for months, and you still don't know their name. What if they're catfishing you? Elliot shook his head. It's not like that. Their voice, their words, it's too honest. I'd know if they were lying. But Mia's words lingered, gnawing at him. That night, he scrolled through their chat history, rereading Songbird_17's messages. Sometimes I sing to forget who I am. Other times, I sing to remember. The vulnerability in those words mirrored his own. He recorded a new cover. A risky choice, Lover. You Should Have Come Over by Jeff Buckley, pouring every ounce of his longing into it. He sent it to Songbird_17 with a note. This is me. Raw. Your turn. Days passed with no reply. Elliot's hope frayed. Each silent hour a reminder of how fragile this connection was. Had he pushed too far? Revealed too much? He threw himself into his music, writing feverishly, lyrics about a voice he'd never seen but couldn't forget. Then, on a rainy Tuesday, his phone buzzed. Songbird_17 had posted a new cover-ish stripped-down version of Hallelujah, their voice trembling with emotion. The message attached was simple: "I'm scared. Echo. But I'm still here." Elliot's fingers trembled as he typed back, "I'm scared too. But your voice makes me brave." He didn't know it yet, but that exchange was the spark that would set everything in motion, pulling him toward a stage he'd only dreamed of, and a truth he wasn't ready to face. What made Songbird_17's voice so magnetic to Elliot? How did it differ from the countless other voices he'd heard? And what fears were they both hiding behind their anonymous screens? Elliot's days began to orbit around Songbird_17's messages, each one a lifeline in the chaos of his life. The coffee shop grind wore him down-spilled lattes, entitled customers, and the constant hum of New York's restlessness, but their words were a quiet harbor. Songbird_17's latest message lingered in his mind. "Your cover broke me open. Echo. I sang Hallelujah because you make me want to be brave too." He read it again on his lunch break, crouched in the alley behind the shop, the city's pulse thrumming through the walls. Brave. The word felt foreign to Elliot, who'd spent years shrinking himself to fit others' expectations. Growing up, he'd learned to hide his feelings, his truth, in a town where different was a dirty word. Songbird_17, though, made him want to unravel that armor. Their chats grew bolder. Songbird_17 shared a story of a high school talent show, their voice cracking under the weight of a silent crowd. "I swore I'd never perform live again," they wrote. Elliot replied with his own confession, the time he'd snuck into a gay bar in Columbus, heart-pounding, only to leave before speaking to anyone. "I wanted to feel free," he typed, "but I was too afraid of what it meant." The vulnerability was intoxicating, dangerous. Elliot began to notice patterns in Songbird_17's words, a love for 90s folk, a habit of dodging personal details, a quiet defiance in their tone. He pictured them in fragments, hands strumming a guitar, eyes hidden behind a curtain of hair. But who were they? A student? A dreamer like him? Or someone entirely out of his reach? One night, Songbird_17 sent a new song, an original this time. The lyrics were raw, jagged. "I'm a shadow in the spotlight, singing for a ghost." Elliot listened, transfixed, as their voice wove through minor chords, each note a confession. He messaged back, "That was yours, wasn't it? It felt like you were singing my heart." Their reply came fast, "Maybe I was. Maybe we're singing the same song." The ambiguity thrilled and terrified him. Were they flirting? Or was this just the intimacy of two souls bared through music? Elliot's own songs began to shift, his lyrics sharper, more honest. He posted a new track, "Stranger's Lullaby," about a voice that kept him awake, a love he couldn't name. Songbird_17's response was a single word: "Wow." Then came the bombshell. A local music festival, Indie Vibes, announced an open mic showcase at the Bowery Ballroom, Elliot's dream venue. The app was abuzz with users daring each other to audition. Songbird_17 messaged him, "You gonna try for it? Echo. Bowery's calling your name." Elliot froze. Performing live meant exposing himself, not just his voice, but his truth. He'd sung at open mics before, small cafes where no one really listened. But the Bowery was different. It was real. "I don't know," he replied. "What about you? You're the one with the voice that could break hearts." Their response was cryptic. "Maybe I'll surprise you." Elliot's mind raced. Was Songbird_17 in New York? Could they be closer than he'd imagined? He spent hours scouring their profile for clues, but found nothing beyond their songs and words. Mia caught him staring at his phone during a slow shift. "You're obsessed," she said, half laughing. "What if Songbird's just some dude in a basement, trolling you?" "He's not," Elliot snapped, then caught himself. He didn't know Songbird_17's gender, but in his heart, he'd started to imagine a quiet, soulful guy with a smile he hadn't yet seen. "Be careful," Mia said softly. "You're falling for someone who might not exist." Her warning stung, but Elliot couldn't stop. He auditioned for the showcase, his hands shaking as he recorded a video of Stranger's Lullaby. He sent it to Songbird_17 first, needing their approval. Their reply was instant. "You're ready." Echo. "You're more than ready." What was it about Songbird_17's encouragement that gave Elliot courage? Why did he trust their words over his own doubts? And what would happen if he stepped onto that stage, only to find the voice he loved was still a shadow? The email arrived on a gray November morning. The subject line stark, "Indie Vibes Showcase, you're in." Elliot's heart lurched as he read it, standing in the middle of his apartment, coffee forgotten on the counter. He'd been chosen for the Bowery Ballroom open mic, one of 10 performers. He messaged Songbird_17 immediately. "I got in." "Bowery. I'm freaking out." Their reply was a voice note, a rare gift. "Echo," their voice said, soft and warm. "You're gonna light up that stage. I believe in you." The words wrapped around him like a blanket, but the absence of a name, a face, left a hollow ache. Elliot threw himself into preparation, practicing until his fingers bled from strumming. His set list was a tightrope walk, Stranger's Lullaby, a cover of The Night We Met, and a new song, Whisper in the Static, inspired by Songbird_17. Each lyric was a letter to them, a plea to step out of the shadows. But as the showcase loomed, doubt crept in. What if Songbird_17 wasn't there? What if they were? And the reality shattered the dream. The night before the event, Elliot sat in a dive bar with Mia, nursing a beer. "You're different," she said, studying him. "This Songbird_17 got you believing in yourself." "They get me," Elliot said, voice low, "like no one else ever has." Mia leaned closer. "But what if they're not who you think? What if they're straight? Or married? Or—" "Stop," Elliot cut her off, sharper than he meant. "I don't care who they are. I just need to know they're real." The Bowery Ballroom was a cathedral of indie dreams, its brick walls steeped in history. On the night of the showcase, Elliot arrived early, his guitar case a shield against the buzzing crowd. Backstage, he met the other performers, a punk poet with pink hair, a jazz singer with a velvet voice, a nervous kid who kept dropping his drumsticks. None felt like Songbird_17. He checked the app obsessively, hoping for a message, but Songbird_17 had been quiet all day. His nerves frayed as the host called his name. The stage was smaller than he'd imagined, the spotlight blinding. He stepped to the mic, heart hammering, and scanned the crowd. Faces blurred together, none of them familiar, none of them them. "This is for someone out there," Elliot said, voice cracking. "Someone who made me believe I could do this." He launched into Stranger's Lullaby, his fingers steady despite his shaking knees. The crowd swayed, some closing their eyes, and for a moment, he felt weightless, carried by his own voice. Halfway through his set, he saw him, a guy in the back, leaning against the wall, his face half hidden by a hoodie. Something about his posture, the way his hands fidgeted, felt achingly familiar. Elliot's voice faltered for a split second, but he pushed through, pouring everything into Whisper in the Static. The lyrics were raw, unguarded. "Your voice is my compass, but I'm lost in your silence." When he finished, The applause was warm, but his eyes stayed on the guy in the hoodie. Was it Songbird_17? Or was his heart playing tricks, desperate to see what wasn't there? As he left the stage, his phone buzzed. A message from Songbird_17. You were incredible. Echo. I'm here. Elliot's breath caught. He scanned the crowd again, but the hoodie guy was gone. His mind spun. Were they really here, watching him? Or was this another layer of their game? He typed back, "Where are you? Please, I need to know." No reply came. Backstage, the other performers clapped him on the shoulder, but their voices were distant. Elliot's world had narrowed to one question. Who was Songbird_17? And why were they still hiding? What did Elliot hope to find in the crowd that night? How would seeing Songbird_17 change the connection they'd built? And what risks came with stepping out of anonymity into the harsh light of reality? The afterglow of the performance faded fast, replaced by a gnawing unease. Elliot stood outside the Bowery Ballroom, the November chill biting through his jacket. His phone clutched like a lifeline. Songbird_17's message, "I'm here," burned in his mind. But their silence since then felt like a betrayal. He wandered the Lower East Side, streetlights casting long shadows as he replayed the night. The guy in the hoodie haunted him, those fidgeting hands, that fleeting glance. Was it them? Elliot had almost chased after him, but the crowd had swallowed the figure before he could act. Now, doubt and hope waged war in his chest. At home, he opened the app, staring at their chat. "Why didn't you stay?" He typed, then deleted it. Instead, he sent, "I sang for you tonight. Did you feel it?" He waited, refreshing the screen, but no reply came. The silence was louder than the crowd's applause. The next day, Mia dragged him to brunch, her eyes sharp with concern. "You look like you didn't sleep," she said, pushing a plate of pancakes toward him. "I didn't," Elliot admitted. They were there. Mia, Songbird. But they didn't show themselves. "Maybe they're scared," she said. "You've built this whole thing in your head. What if they can't live up to it?" Elliot frowned, picking at his food. It's not about them living up to anything. It's about knowing they're real. But Mia's words stuck. What if Songbird_17 was hiding because they weren't who Elliot imagined? What if their connection was a fluke? A collision of lonely hearts amplified by the app's anonymity? He pushed the thought away, clinging to the memory of their voice. Those late-night confessions that felt like truth. That evening, Songbird_17 finally replied, "I felt it. Echo. Your voice. It broke me. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't." Elliot's heart surged, then sank. Why couldn't they? He typed back, "I need more than words on a screen. Meet me. Please." Their response was slow, each word heavy. "I'm not ready. Not yet. But I'm not running." Elliot stared at the message, torn between frustration and hope. He wanted to push, to demand answers, but he knew it could shatter everything. Instead, he recorded a new song, "Chasing Shadows," and sent it with a note, "This is me waiting. But not forever." Days blurred into weeks. The showcase had earned Elliot a small buzz. Local blogs mentioned his haunting performance, and a few fans followed echo vibes on the app. But his focus stayed on Songbird_17. They kept chatting, their messages cautious but warm, like two people circling a fire they were afraid to touch. Songbird_17 shared a new cover, "I'm With You" by Vance Joy, their voice raw with longing. Elliot listened on repeat, each note a question, "Why won't you step into the light?" Then, a breakthrough. Songbird_17 mentioned a Guygan impromptu performance at a small Brooklyn venue. The rusty note. "I might be there," they wrote. No promises, Elliot's pulse raced. This was his chance. He memorized the venue's address, his mind already mapping the night. He told Mia, who rolled her eyes but smiled. You're like a detective chasing a love song. Just don't get hurt. Okay. I won't. Elliot lied, knowing his heart was already on the line. The rusty note was a dive, its stage barely big enough for a single mic. Elliot arrived early, scanning every face. The crowd was small hipsters, musicians, a few drunks. No one matched the hoodie guy from the Bowery. As the first act started, Elliot's hope waned. Then, the host announced the next performer, Alex. No last name, just Alex. A figure stepped onto the stage, guitar in hand, their face half hidden by a cap. Elliot's breath caught. That voice, the first note, was all it took. It was Songbird_17. What kept Songbird_17 from revealing themselves at the Bowery? How would hearing their voice live, in the flesh, change Elliot's perception of their bond? And what truths were they both still hiding? The rusty note's dim lights cast Alex in a soft glow, their silhouette sharp against the peeling paint of the back wall. Elliot stood frozen, his heart a drumbeat drowning out the bar's chatter. That voice, Songbird_17's voice, filled the room, raw and trembling, singing an original song about running from love, about fear dressed as freedom. Elliot's eyes locked on Alex. They were lean, with dark hair spilling from under the cap, their fingers deft on the guitar strings. Every note felt like a confession meant for him, each lyric a thread tying their digital world to this moment. He wanted to rush the stage, to demand answers, but his feet wouldn't move. Alex's set was short 3 songs, each one a knife to Elliot's chest. When they finished, the crowd clapped, but Alex barely acknowledged it, slipping off stage into the shadows. Elliot pushed through the crowd, his pulse frantic. He caught Alex at the bar, ordering a soda, their back to him. Songbird. Elliot's voice was barely a whisper, but Alex froze, their shoulders tensing. Slowly, they turned, and Elliot saw their face for the first time, sharp cheekbones, wary green eyes, a faint scar above one brow. Echo, Alex said, their voice low, familiar, but heavier in person. You found me. Elliot's throat tightened. Why didn't you tell me? At the Bowery. You were there, and you just left. Alex looked away, fingers tracing the rim of their glass. I wasn't ready. I saw you sing, saw how real you were. It scared me. Scared you? Elliot's voice cracked. I've been pouring my heart out to you for months. You think I wasn't scared? Alex's eyes met his, raw and unguarded. I'm not like you, Elliot. I don't know how to be that open. Not yet. The use of his real name hit like a spark. You knew my name, Elliot said, stepping closer. How? Alex hesitated, then pulled out their phone, opening the app. They showed him a screenshot of this audition video for the Bowery, where he'd slipped and said his name. I've known for a while, Alex admitted. I just didn't know how to cross that line. Elliot's mind reeled. All this time, Alex had held a piece of him he hadn't meant to give. But standing here, seeing the fear and longing in Alex's eyes, he felt the gap between their screens dissolve. Why now? He asked. Why let me find you? Alex's voice dropped to a whisper. Because your songs make me want to stop hiding. They talked for hours, the bar emptying around them. Alex was 25, a runaway from a conservative family in Texas. Their music a rebellion against the life they'd fled. They'd come to New York to disappear, to be no one. But the app and Elliot had pulled them back. Your voice, Alex said. It's like mine, but braver. Elliot laughed. Bitter. Brave. I'm terrified. I've never told anyone I'm gay. Not even Mia. Not really. Alex's hand brushed his. A fleeting touch. You told me. In your songs. The air between them crackled, heavy with possibility. Elliot wanted to lean in, to close the distance. But fear held him back. What if this was too much? Too fast? What if Alex disappeared again? As the bar closed, Alex stood. I'm playing another gig tomorrow. Come. Please. They scribbled an address on a napkin and pressed it into Elliot's hand. He clutched it all the way home, the paper warm against his palm. That night, he couldn't sleep, replaying Alex's voice, their touch. He wrote a new song, Name in the Dark, about finding someone you already knew by heart. What did Alex's confession mean for their connection? How would Elliot navigate the shift from anonymous words to a real, fragile person? And what fears would they both need to face to take the next step? The napkin with Alex's handwriting sat on Elliot's nightstand, a talisman he couldn't stop touching. The address was for a warehouse-turned-music venue in Bushwick, a place known for gritty, soul-bearing performances. He spent the day in a haze, his shift at the coffee shop a blur of spilled milk and half-heard orders. Mia noticed. Of course. You met them, didn't you? She asked, leaning against the espresso machine. Elliot nodded, his voice barely steady. His name's Alex. He's real, Mia. More than I expected. She grinned, but her eyes were cautious. Just take it slow. Okay. You're already half in love with his voice. Half in love. The words echoed as Elliot headed to the venue that night, his guitar case slung over his shoulder. He hadn't planned to perform, but carrying it felt like armor. The warehouse was packed, the air thick with smoke and anticipation. He spotted Alex backstage, tuning their guitar, their eyes distant. Echo, Alex said, their face softening as they saw him. You came. Couldn't miss it, Elliot said, his voice lighter than he felt. You gonna sing something for me tonight? Alex's smile was shy, almost secretive. Maybe. Stick around. The show was electric, each act rawer than the last. When Alex took the stage, the crowd hushed. They sang Shadow in the Spotlight, the same song Elliot had heard on the app. But Live. It was a revelation grittier, more desperate. Their eyes found his in the crowd, holding his gaze through the final chorus. After, they found a corner of the venue, away from the noise. Alex's cap was off now, their hair messy, their guard lower. I saw you out there, they said. You looked like you belonged. So did you, Elliot replied. Why do you hide? Your voice it could fill rooms bigger than this. Alex's jaw tightened. It's not about the voice. It's about what comes with it. Expectations. Judgment. I left that behind in Texas. Elliot wanted to ask more, to dig into the scars Alex carried, but he sensed the wall between them. Instead, he said, your songs don't sound like you're hiding. They sound like you're fighting. Alex's eyes flickered with something surprise. Maybe hope. You see too much. Echo. The night ended with a kiss, impulsive and fleeting, outside the venue. Alex's lips were soft, hesitant, but the spark was undeniable. Elliot pulled back, breathless. What are we doing? Alex. I don't know, Alex whispered. But I don't want to stop. They started meeting outside the app, tentative at first coffee shops, late-night walks, small venues where they'd share a mic. Each moment was a step toward something neither could name. Elliot told Alex about his childhood, the weight of his father's silence. Alex shared fragments of their own pasta family that saw their queerness as a sin, a music teacher who gave them a guitar and a reason to keep going. But shadows lingered. Alex dodged questions about their life beyond music, their eyes clouding when Elliot pushed. And Elliot, still guarding his own truth, hadn't told Mia or anyone else about Alex. Their connection was a secret, fragile and fierce, built on songs and stolen moments. One night, Alex invited Elliot to their apartment, a tiny studio cluttered with vinyl records and half-written lyrics. They played each other's songs, laughing, teasing, until Alex's fingers brushed Elliot's cheek. "I'm falling for you," Alex said, voice barely audible. "And it terrifies me." Elliot's heart soared, but fear clawed at him. "Me too," he admitted. "But I'm tired of being scared." What did Alex's kiss mean for their future? How would Elliot balance his growing love with the secrets they both kept? And what would happen when the world demanded more than their hidden moments could hold? Love was a song Elliot and Alex couldn't stop singing, but it came with dissonant chords. Their days were a blur of music and intimacy, shared playlists, late-night jam sessions, kisses that felt like promises. Yet beneath it, tension simmered. Alex's past was a locked door, and Elliot's fear of being seen kept him from opening his own. One evening, they performed together at a small open mic, their voices blending in a cover of Tenerife Sea. The crowd was small but rapt, and for the first time, Elliot felt whole, his truth alive in the harmony. Afterward, Alex pulled him close, their foreheads touching. "We're good together," they said, on stage and off. But the high didn't last. At the coffee shop, Mia cornered him. "You're different, El. Happier, but secretive. What's going on?" Elliot hesitated, then spilled it. "Alex. The music. The kiss." Mia's face lit up, then darkened. "You're falling hard, but you barely know them. What if they're running from something?" Her words echoed Elliot's own fears. Alex's silences were growing heavier, their excuses vaguer. When he asked about their family, their plans, they'd change the subject or disappear into their music. One night, Elliot pressed harder, sitting on Alex's couch. "Why won't you let me in? I'm giving you everything." Alex's eyes darkened. "You don't get it, Elliot. Some things I can't talk about. Not yet." "Then when?" Elliot's voice rose. "I'm out here, risking everything, and you're still half a shadow." Alex stood, pacing. "You think I'm not risking anything? I left everything behind to be here, to be this." They gestured at themselves, voice breaking. "I'm trying. Okay." The fight ended in silence, both too raw to continue. Elliot left, the city's noise swallowing his thoughts. He wrote a new song, half a heart, pouring his frustration and love into it. He sent it to Alex, hoping it would bridge the gap. Days later, Alex showed up at the coffee shop, their face pale. "I listened," they said. "Your song, it's us. I'm sorry I'm not enough." "You are," Elliot said, stepping closer. "But you have to let me see you. All of you." Alex nodded, eyes wet. "I want to. I just need time." Time, though, was running out. Indie Vibes announced a bigger showcase, a chance for unsigned artists to perform for record labels. Both Elliot and Alex were invited, but the catch was brutal. Only one could win the contract. The news hit like a storm, forcing them to face their dreams and their fear head on. They rehearsed together, their music tighter than ever, but the competition loomed. Elliot saw the hunger in Alex's eyes, the same drive he felt. "What happens if only one of us makes it?" he asked one night, lying beside Alex in the dark. Alex was quiet for a long time. "Then we celebrate. And we keep singing." But Elliot wasn't sure he believed them. The showcase was a week away, and the weight of it pressed on them both. Alex started pulling away, their messages shorter, their gigs more frequent. Elliot wondered if they were preparing to lose her to leave. The night before the showcase, Elliot found a note slipped under his door. It was from Alex. In their messy scrawl, "Meet me at the Bowery. Midnight. I'm ready to tell you everything." Elliot's heart raced. Was this the moment they'd finally break through? Or was it a goodbye? He grabbed his jacket and ran, the city a blur around him. What was Alex ready to reveal? How would the showcase test their love and their dreams? And could they both find a way to step into the spotlight without losing each other? The Bowery Ballroom was empty at midnight, its stage bathed in a single spotlight. Elliot found Alex there, sitting cross-legged on the floor, their guitar resting beside them. The air was heavy, charged with the weight of unspoken truths. "Echo," Alex said, their voice soft but steady. "I owe you this." They told him everything. A childhood in a Texas town where being queer was a secret to bury. A family that turned love into shame. Alex had run at 18. Their guitar their only constant. Building a life in New York under a name that wasn't theirs. Songbird_17 was my shield. They said. Until you. Elliot listened, his heart aching for the boy who'd hidden to survive. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I was afraid you'd see me differently," Alex admitted. "Less than the voice you fell for." Elliot took their hand, his voice firm. "I fell for you, Alex. All of you." They kissed, slow and certain, the stage their sanctuary. But the showcase loomed, and with it, the fear of what winning or losing might mean. They spent the night planning their performances, promising to support each other, no matter the outcome. The showcase was a whirlwind. The Bowery was packed, industry scouts in the front row, their pens poised like judges. Elliot went first, his set ablaze of emotion, Stranger's Lullaby, Whisper in the Static, and a new song, for Alex, that left the crowd breathless. Alex followed, their performance raw and fearless, their final song a love letter to Elliot, sung with eyes locked on his. Backstage, they clung to each other, hearts pounding. "You were incredible," Elliot whispered. "So were you," Alex said, their smile bittersweet. "Whatever happens, we're in this." The announcement came too soon. The label chose Elliot. His world tilted joy, guilt, fear all at once. He looked at Alex, expecting hurt, but they hugged him fiercely. "You deserve this," they said. "We both do." Days later, Elliot got a call. The label wanted Alex too, for a duo project. They'd seen their chemistry, their story, in the songs. Elliot and Alex sat in Alex's apartment, laughing, crying, planning a future they hadn't dared dream. They recorded their first single together, Anonymous Hearts, about two voices finding each other in the dark. It climbed the indie charts, their truth woven into every note. Elliot came out to Mia, to the world, his fear replaced by pride. Alex stood beside him, no longer a shadow, their name whispered in every song they shared. Years later, at another Bowery show, Elliot looked across the stage at Alex, their voices harmonizing, their hands entwined. The crowd roared, but all he heard was the voice he'd loved from the start, now whispering his name in the light. Their story wasn't just about love, it was about courage, about choosing to be seen, to be heard, to be whole. And every note they sang carried that truth, a beacon for anyone lost in their own silence. What did it mean for Elliot and Alex to finally step out of anonymity? How did their shared music become a testament to their love? And what can we learn from two hearts who found each other by daring to sing their truth?